Hey guys, it's the Drabble Geek here, and welcome back to Ace Attorney. Now, we are in the first portion of the trial phase of the second day. And last time we were pretty much just trying to figure out who would have a grudge against our detective. Emma, so what do you think, Mr. Wright? I think the prosecution is as confused as we are. After all, the victim was murdered in two different places at the same time, and a different suspect was arrested at each of the crime scenes. Lana. Good morning, Mr. Wright. I apologize for yesterday. I was indisposed. I hope they didn't hold you too long for questioning. We just finished, actually. I'm used to all-nighters, though. So, how'd it go? It says Mr. Wright suspects. The police are clueless. I figured as much, so I struck a plea bargain. A plea bargain? What do you mean by that? We agreed that if I told them the truth behind this simultaneous murder, they wouldn't seek capital punishment. That's what I mean, Emma. But Lana, don't tell me you. Much to my regret, I'm as much in the dark about this as they are. Miss Skye? We found trace evidence of a certain person in the police department's evidence room. They belong to Officer Jake Marshall. What kind of trace evidence? Blood-stained fingerprints, to be exact. And that's the trump card I have up my sleeve today. You do understand what this means, don't you? In order to defend my sister, you're going to accuse Mr. Marshall. We have to play the cards we're dealt. Isn't that right, Miss Skye? Do what you have to do, Mr. Wright. I have no clue what's going on in this case, let's be honest. Court is now in session for the trial of Miss Lana Skye. The defense is ready, Your Honor. Prosecution is... I'm afraid you'll have to clarify. It takes 30 minutes by car to reach the police department from the prosecutor's office. Yet the victim, Bruce Goodman, was slain in both places at the same time. That's not physically possible, is it? What's more, I hear the victim from the evidence room just disappeared. Yes, and the body eventually reappeared in the trunk of Mr. Edwards' car. Wow, this is one messed up trial. One of my duties as prosecutors is to present impartial evidence. Today I will present evidence relating to the murder at the police department. In doing so, I believe the way in which we should proceed will reveal itself. Now, that's what sets Mr. Edwards apart. He sounds so on top of things, even though he doesn't know what's going on himself. And that's supposed to be an admirable trait? Very well, let the trial resume. On the day of the crime, what exactly transpired at the police department? Mr. Edwards, you may call your first witness of the day to the stand. For its first witness, the prosecution calls the suspect of the murder that occurred at the police department. The suspect? You mean the so-called murderer? Yeah, he did nothing. Oh boy. Things are getting wild from the get-go. I don't think Meekins had anything to do with anything. Will the witness please state his name and occupation? Yes, sir. I am Officer Mike Meekins, sir. My occupation is, that would be murderer, sir. Did he really just said that? So you're telling us you're a professional killer? Sir, it was me, sir. I'm the one who did it. I'll never kill anyone again, sir. You have to believe me, sir. Actually, what we like to hear from you is, sir, I'm what you would call part of the younger generation, sir. Person whose actions adults can't possibly comprehend. Please, Mr. Edwards, sir, help me, sir. I love how that was actually the judge. He started talking like Officer Meekins. Officer Meekins. Yes, sir? Give us your report of the crime. Consider that an order. Yes, sir, as you wish. After all, I am part of the generation that must be told what to do, sir. Can't fault him for a lack of enthusiasm. I mean, I can. He's sounding like a complete idiot. Although it's not my normal duty, I was assigned to guard the evidence room that day. I spotted a suspicious man on the security screen and rushed into the room. I was only doing what I was trained to do, sir. I was suddenly attacked. I fought for my life, then I did it. After that, I passed out until another officer smacked me awake. Which one? So the victim, Detective Goodman, attacked you? Do unto others before they do unto you. That's the Meekins family motto, sir. I see. Then you fainted and a colleague helped you regain consciousness? Yes, sir. He knocked me upside the head, sir. Very well. The defense may begin its cross-examination. What I need here is more info to work with. Press him on everything is my motto. Although it's not my normal duty, I was assigned to the guard evidence today. Why? Mr. Meekins, you work in the General Affairs Department, do you not? Yes, sir. I am in charge of hiring new recruits, sir. Yikes, now there's a scary thought. Evidence transfer was taking place on the day of the crime, which meant many officers were given special tasks not ordinarily performed. I was in charge of guarding the Blue Badger, sir. The Blue Badger? Yes, sir, the lovely police mascot created by the chief of detectives, sir. So adorable. I prefer the stuffed animal one and criminal affairs. I was to ensure it wasn't broken during the day. That was my sole mission for the day, sir. I see. Sounds like a very important mission. After the awards ceremony finished that day, there were so many people running around that I relocated the Blue Badger to the evidence room. Oh, so that's why you went to the evidence room. Tell us, what did you see when you got there? I spotted a suspicious man in the security room and rushed into the room. In order to enter the evidence room, you need an ID card, am I correct? Precisely, sir. I have one right here around my neck. So then, your ID number should be listed on here, right? There it is. I found it. It is the one right here. Could you please read us the number? Yes, sir. 4989596. That's my number, sir. I see. But the number 4989596 is shown being used twice. Please explain, witness. It's no real mystery, sir. First time is when I relocated the Blue Badger to the evidence room. The second time is when I went to get him after everything settled down. I see. So it was during the second time when... Yes, sir. That was when I spotted the man on the security screen. Now we just need to find out who that Hepta 7 person is, I suppose. I was only doing what I was trained to do, sir. I was suddenly attacked. What did you do? So you were attacked. Can you please tell us exactly what happened to you? It was a knife, sir. A knife. Detective Goodman pulled a knife on you. What happened then? Well, with me charging in on him like that, he was as surprised as I was. You aren't exactly the kind of person someone would want to run into. That's when I reacted, sir. Also, sorry if you know about it's like a wind advisory, so it's been like pretty loud. I swung my arms like an octopus, struggling to detain him. That's how I got this gash on my hand. Maybe if you just kept your your hand wouldn't be. When I saw the blood trickling down my arm, I panicked. I grabbed the man by his collar. I fought for my life, then I did it. Did what? What exactly do you mean when you say you did it? I know I don't look like the type, but I'm really into kung fu films, sir. The man let his guard down for just an instant, so I snatched his knife from him. You took his knife? I spun him around and performed a disarming maneuver. I made sure to close my eyes like a man. See. He must have been desperate. The next thing I knew, his white coat was drenched in a sea of my blood, and then the next thing I knew, yes, he punched me right in my face, sir. After I passed out, and after that I passed out until another officer smacked me awake. About what time did you regain consciousness? No offense, sir, but how am I supposed to know that? I was unconscious. Oh, right. According to the report from the officer that woke up the witness, it was about 5:30. He hit me right in the head, too. I woke up crying tears of pain. That's nice, it's nice that you recovered, that is. When I came around, though, I made sure to finish my mission, sir. Your mission? Yes, sir, the Blue Badger, sir. I returned into the entrance before things got out of hand. Well, we can all rest very easy now. I believe we now have a fairly accurate picture of what happened. Yes, Your Honor. Only one thing remains unclear. Was the man this officer murdered really the victim? He's got a point. Yes, Officer Meekins? With regard to that, sir, take a look at this. It was sent to my jail cell. Chief Gant delivered it to me just this morning, sir. The chief delivered it? What is that, a videotape? Yes, sir, that's absolutely right, sir. A videotape, sir. It contains footage from the security camera in the evidence room. What? But I specifically asked if there was such a tape, and was told it had been mistakenly erased. That's quite a mistake. I just do what I'm told, sir. It's the only thing I'm really good at. Looks like communication with the police department is as good as ever. Well then, let's have a look. Show us the video of you murdering the victim. Oh, please stop using that word, murder, sir. It scares me. Video of a real murder. Just what we are getting ourselves into. Let me guess, the Blue Badger is in the way. Okay, that's possibly Goodman. Can't see his face. Begins, walks by. I love how he keeps swiveling back and forth so we can't really see anything. Okay, Meekins is on the ground, but where is our where's the other dude go? That's now out. Well, I believe we're all thinking the same thing. How can we deal with these unsettling feelings stirred within us? What the heck was that wriggling piece of plywood? Sir, that is the pride and joy of the entire criminal affairs department, sir. It's a blue badger, sir. Why am I not surprised this isn't going smoothly? Yes, well, anyway, this tape seems to prove that the witness did indeed counter someone in the evidence room and some sort of activity occurred. Your Honor, instead of relying on clearly incomplete footage, the witness's testimony will suffice. Is that all right with you, Officer Meekins? Yes, sir. As you wish, sir. I'm lost. His face can't be clearly seen in the video. But there's no question that the other person was Detective Goodman, sir. How can you be sure? I mean, he opened the detective, which required Detective Goodman's fingerprint to do. Okay, that's a good reason. The locker he opened is unquestionably Detective Goodman's locker, sir. So it must be him. No one else could have unlocked it. What's this about a fingerprint? Each detective has been given a locker equipped with a fingerprint-activated lock. These locks ensure that each locker can only be opened by the detective it belongs to. Intriguing. That would mean the victim at the crime scene would have had to have been Detective Goodman. Not necessarily. Could be tape. Very well. The defense may begin its cross-examination. I don't know where this cross-examination will lead, but everything begins with contradictions. That's where I have to start. His face can't be clearly seen in the video. There's no question that other person was Detective Goodman. Sorry, I mean, he opened the locker, which requires his fingerprint to do. About these lockers, is there no other way to open them? No, sir. I've tried myself all kinds of methods in the past. They only respond to registered fingerprints, sir. I wonder what kind of methods he's tried. The man opened the locker's lock, which only responds to its registered fingerprint. Then he must be the person the locker was assigned to. Exactly my point, sir. And this, too. The locker he opened is unquestionably Detective Goodman's locker, sir. How do you know that information? I heard rumors, sir, from people in the know, sir. People in the know? The workers in the department cafeteria, sir. They keep me informed. They also listen to my romantic troubles, sir. For the record, the open locker did indeed belong to Detective Goodman. I verified this information through a more reliable source. So the victim opened the locker with his own fingerprint. So it must be him. No one else could have unlocked it. However, the most important detail is not shown in this video, the man's face. Sir, if I may say something, sir, please do. After all, you are the one being examined. I don't understand why the man's face is so important in this case, sir. I mean, it was his hand that opened the fingerprint lock, and it was his hand that tried to thrust his knife into my body, sir. My unsettled state can testify enough to this, sir. Yes, you have a point. The footage doesn't lie. That is, unless the defense can find a problem with it. Mr. Wright, let's check the court record again. Is there a problem with security video? Check. No one there. Still 2:21. It's 5, almost 5:15. Wait, on the last locker, the the shirt isn't out yet. But I do remember at the very end of the tape it was out. Yeah, still not there. They're fighting. Meekins did a terrible job, but I did see the blood on his coat. Like, you can't see him leave, which makes no sense. You should be able to see him leave, and now that locker has the shirt hanging out of it. Wait, and now it started over? Okay, yeah, it does start over. Yes, there is a problem. Regarding the video contained on this tape, there's one thing in particular that seems rather strange. Strange? This contradiction leads to the possibility that the man may not have been Detective Goodman. What? This video contains such a contradiction? Interesting. Your Honor, I have a proposal. Yes, Mr. Edward? Suppose we have the defense Point out to us this alleged contradiction in the video. You would want me to point it out. Very well, proposal accepted. Let us further inspect this piece of evidence. I will now play the security tape. Mr. Wright, please show us this contradiction you speak of. I have to point out a problem in the video. It's the first time I ever had to do that. You can do it, Mr. Wright. It's set up so you can fast forward, rewind, or pause the video. Just take a good look and be sure to point out the right thing. Please don't play it many times. I can't stand watching this video. How did this guy ever become a police officer? Now then, Mr. Wright, please enlighten us. Where is the contradiction that indicates this man may not be Detective Goodman? Fast forward. Okay, I think one more sweep of the... Wait, no. Crap. Okay, let's hurry this along. Here comes Meekins. He gets attacked, and then one more swipe through. And there we go. I'm going to present this evidence. The thing that's strange about this video has got to be this. Yes, that is strange. Something certainly seems unnatural about that. What could it mean? Sorry to interrupt, Mr. Wright, but you seem to have forgotten the point of this exercise. The point? What you are looking for is one thing and one thing only. Something that indicates the man might not be Detective Goodman. Oh yeah. Ooh. I almost walked right into the defense's trap. I'll place him under arrest, sir. Rats, I need to slow down and tackle these things one piece at a time. Now, what do I do? Very well, let's try this again. Just remember one thing, right? Every time you point your finger, someone gets hurt. That's the one pointing his finger at us. I will now play the security tape. Mr. Wright, please show us the contradiction you speak of. I have to point out the problem in the video. Did I? I mean, the fact that that locker was open. Wait. Yeah, why is that light on? I didn't realize that before, but that light shouldn't be on. Yeah, that means it's already unlocked, right? The thing that's strange about this video has got to be this. Officer Meekins? Sir? Do you mean me, sir? As I understand, the locker apparatus works like this. When you grab the handle, a sensor reads your fingerprint. If it's a match, the light turns on and the lock is released. According to my very limited experience, that's the way I understand it, sir. If so, then something is seriously wrong with this picture. Well, now there's two things wrong with the video. Am I just waiting? When the victim reaches for the handle to open the locker, let's rewind a little earlier. What is going? Like, I know what's going on, but it's still just like really weird. Here, notice the light? What's this? It's already lit. Precisely my point, Your Honor. The locker was already open before the victim grabbed the handle. Order, what's the meaning of this? It's very simple, Your Honor. The locker wasn't locked on the day of the crime. The locker locks are controlled by an electronic system. When a door is shut, a sensor is triggered, and the locker is automatically locked. Oh, I know, it must have broken down. Of course, I'm not an expert in this. That's not likely, Your Honor. The sensor would detect and report any malfunction. Oh well, that just goes to show novices should keep their mouths shut. So then, Mr. Wright, do you have an explanation? Me, Your Honor? Yes, why wasn't the locker locked? Me, Your Honor. Yes, well, you see, this isn't exactly my field. What do you think, Miss Scientific Investigator? Huh? Oh, maybe something like jam the system sensor. Something jammed the sensor, say, the glove? Something else that seems out of place in this video. Yeah, I thought so too. There's got to be another clue somewhere in this footage. Very well, let's inspect the video once more. The locker wasn't locked, Mr. Wright. Please point out the cause for this. I think it's the glove. Oh, that makes the most sense. Nope. JJ. And we see the slowly falling up glove. Glove's the only thing that makes sense. Please watch closely. This is the continuation of the part I showed you earlier. Can I just start earlier than this? I don't want to see him walk across the screen again. That was quite boring. What's this? Something white fell out of the locker. But, sir, it's my experience that things fall out when doors are open. I often fall and roll great distances when I open my car door. We can't be sure that the item was completely inside the locker to begin with. What do you mean? The sensor triggers the lock when the door is shut. What if something was inserted, say, between the sensor and the door? And inserted? Okay, we got it. Continue on. Hit right, fast forward this. The white thing wasn't inside the locker. It was stuck between the door and the sensor. Oh, I understand now, sir. It's just like my tie. 2 out of 3 times I get stuck in the door when I get out of my patrol vehicle, sir. Instead of the door closing, my tie chokes me. But the object would have to be extremely thin to fit in the door. Not only that, it would also have to block electrical currents. It would need to be an insulator. Yes, an insulator. But at the crime scene, there just might have been something that fits the description. But sir, by insulator you don't mean... I think I finally got this figured out. Very well. Will the defense please present the relevant evidence? What was this insulator that was stuck in the door? Wouldn't it be the glove? I'm sure like that about the glove. Wait, rubber stops electrical currents. I found this near the locker, a thin rubber glove. But we can't be sure that was in the victim's locker. It has a tag that says SO9 incident. The video seems to depict the victim opening the locker, but that isn't the case. The lit lamp attests to this. On the day of the crime, even I could have opened that locker. Is this not so, Officer Meekins? Sir, it would appear so, sir. Order, order, order. So are we to believe then that the victim whom this witness stabbed in the evidence room was not Detective Goodman? Do not be misled, Your Honor. What do you mean, Mr. Edgeworth? The defense has merely demonstrated that possibility, and nothing more. The victim in the video was indeed Bruce Goodman. The prosecution will offer one more testimony to prove this. What? Officer Meekins, please testify about this. Sir? Me, sir? I'm not sure what you're referring to, sir. Oh, you mean that, sir? Of course, sir. Is this a joke? I think so. Very well, begin your testimony. There's one other thing that proves the man was Detective Goodman, sir. To enter the evidence room, one must use their ID card. When an ID card is used, there's a record of it. At the time of the crime, the detective had used his card. An ID card record? I see. I have the ID card record right here, Your Honor. The ID used at 5:14 is that of the victim. Just before the crime, Yes, without a doubt, this is the victim's ID. However, one thing does strike me as unusual. Several hundred cases should have been due for transferal. Why were there so few people using this room? This particular evidence room is only used for storing certain special cases. Special cases? Extremely violent cases involving police staff. Just hearing that makes my hair stand on end. Me too, although it doesn't make much of a difference. There are only a few cases up for transferal there, and most were cleared up by noon. Right, I see. Now let's move on to the cross-examination. My thing is, that just means that someone had a card. And since he didn't need the fingerprint to open the door, that doesn't mean anything. So another thing that proves the man was Dr. Goodman, sir. Every room must use their ID card. Is that heart hanging from your neck one of these ID cards? Yes, sir, the card right next to my cuff, sir. I keep it there so I won't ever forget it. But what if someone were to steal it from you, keeping it out in the open like that? Maybe I shouldn't wear it around my neck? Remember when I said 2 out of 3 times my tie gets stuck when I get out of my car? Well, the remaining time it's my ID card that gets stuck. Instead of the door closing, my ID card chokes me. Maybe I should just leave this one alone. At any rate, each police officer has only one ID card. Both the police department and the prosecutor's office can attest to this. Please proceed with your testimony. When an ID card is used, there's a record of it. At the time of the crime, the detective had used his card. My thing is, once again, he might not let me. Goodman. According to this, Mr. Edgeworth, your name is on here. So it is, Your Honor. Not that prosecutor again. Maybe he's behind all this being a prosecutor. He could hide the evidence. Mommy, is that man in blue a murderer? Shh, don't stare at him. You've got the wrong color, kid. It would seem the inquiry committee will want to speak with you again today. I have nothing to be ashamed of regarding my actions or their consequences. For now, let us continue with the cross-examination. Poor Mr. Edgeworth, it must be so difficult for him. At the time of the crime, the detective had used his ID card. Earlier, I believe you testified that when you asked the man to show his ID card, he pulled a knife on you. Yes, sir. He didn't show me any ID card, sir. Don't you think that's odd? I mean, if he had his ID card, all he had to do was show it to you. There wouldn't be any reason to draw a knife. Maybe he just panicked. Everything's soon some contradictions. Let's point them out. Mr. Wright, what do you think? I'm confused. What? Problem with this ID card testimony is far too obvious. It's not like Edgeworth to miss something like this. You're thinking too hard about it. Come on, let's show them what we got. I might be missing something. Fingerprints. So to enter, you must use their ID card. Record of it at the time of the crime, the detective had used his card. But an ID card, that's correct. To enter the evidence room was. I'm gonna save it here. Because I want to say that he didn't have ID card because it was found at the prosecutor's office. Wait one moment, Officer Meekins. I'm not good at waiting, sir. I have the victim's ID card right here. They found it at the crime scene. That makes sense. When I say crime scene, I'm not referring to the evidence room at the police department. I mean the other crime scene. The underground parking lot at the prosecutor's office. Your Honor, I have one more piece of evidence to present. It's a very important clue regarding the victim's ID card. A lost item report? It's only half completed, but it shows that Detective Goodman had lost something on the day of the crime, something important enough to fill out this report. Let me guess, you believe this something to be his ID card, right? Can't say for sure, but that is a high probability. On the day of the crime, Detective Goodman was not carrying his card. Order, order. So now, what does this all mean? It can only mean one thing. It doesn't even require much thought. Man Officer Meekin's encounter in the evidence room was not Detective Goodman, but rather a man who stole his ID card and was wearing a similar outfit. Order, order, order. Does the prosecution have a response? I have only one thing to say to the defense. Bravo, Mr. Wright. Bravo. Allow me to summarize the defense's argument. At 5:15 p.m. on the day of the crime, the man in the evidence room Officer Meekins encountered was not Detective Goodman. There are two grounds to support this. First, the locker in the evidence room was already unlocked. Second, the victim lost his ID card. Am I correct so far, Mr. Wright? Yes. What's he up to? That being the case, we must inevitably arrive at a single conclusion. If the victim in this video is a fake, then the murder in the evidence room is also fake. In other words, the security camera does not show the instant of the murder. That is... Well, I guess that's right. Something wrong, Mr. Wright? Only moments ago you seemed content to be pointing your finger around. This isn't going to end well. Well, well, it seems you finally realized exactly what you've gone to such lengths to prove. Explain yourself, Mr. Edgeworth. The defense has already done the explaining for me. The victim in the video is a fake, which means the murder did not take place. at the police department at 5:15 on the day of the crime. So real crime can only take place at one location, the underground parking lot, at the prosecutor's office. The murderer being this honest guy, the defendant. The evidence is compelling. A trustworthy witness observed the moment the defendant used the murder weapon. Ugh. But we still haven't proved it was her, so... I knew that testimony was way too shabby. It was all a trap from the beginning. The activity in the evidence room still leaves many questions unanswered. Who exactly was the victim Officer Meekins encountered, and where did this person disappear to? However, this trial's purpose is to examine only the murder of Detective Goodman. Just so, Your Honor. Mr. Wright, you have to do something, or else Lana... What do I do? How am I supposed to get myself out of this? Object? One moment, Your Honor. What now, Mr. Wright? Don't tell me you're objecting to what you've just proven. Of course not. But I almost walked right into the prosecution's trap. What are you talking about? Cross-examination has proven one thing and one thing only. The security video did not show the actual murder. Are we going to point out what I saw before? However, it cannot be said that it is unrelated to the murder in the parking lot. Specifically, large amounts of blood traces were found in the evidence room. The defense demands further examination of the truth of this matter. Mr. Edgeworth? Yes, Your Honor? If this court were to examine this further, other witnesses will be necessary. Is the prosecution prepared? I'm sorry, Your Honor. The prosecution considered the incident at the police department to be unrelated. We have not prepared any other witnesses for this incident. This just might be my chance. Time to call a certain Texas Ranger to the stand. Mr. Wright, do you mean, Your Honor? The defense would like to request a specific witness. Oh, whom do you have in mind? Someone we have reason to believe knows the truth behind the activities that took place in the evidence room. The prosecution requests to hear this person's name before deciding whether or not to comply. Very well then, Mr. Wright. This person whom you would have testify, what is his or her name? Jake Marshall. Officer Jake Marshall. Why him? Can't let Edgeworth know everything just yet. He's in charge of the evidence room. I feel we should hear what he has to say. Prosecution agrees to the defense's request. Since he was responsible for guarding the room, we should hear his testimony. Fortunately, he works in the police department. You shouldn't need longer than 20 minutes to prepare. Very well. The court will take a 30-minute recess while the witness is subpoenaed. Will the prosecution please prepare the witness during this time? We will, Your Honor. Court is now in recess. Oh no, 11:32 a.m. There's no stopping you, is there, Mr. Wright? Huh? What do you mean? You called for Jake Marshall. It seems you figured everything out. I haven't figured out anything. Lana, you're the one who knows everything. Emma, you always know everything. Why don't you just tell us? Mr. Wright is trying his hardest to protect you. I don't recall ever asking for his protection. How can you be so cold? Don't you trust us? Don't you trust me? I hope I'm not interrupting anything, pals. Oh, guess I am. I'll come back later. Wait, Detective Gumshoe, what is it? You've got a lot of nerve, pal, making a detective run all around while on duty. And to top it off, you call me here. Seen happier people at funerals. Sorry, detective. You better be, pal. Hey, hey. I didn't see you there, Chief Prosecutor Sky. That's okay, so, have you brought what I asked? Oh, oh ho ho. You mean this, right? My apologies, Detective. Due to my present circumstances, I was forced to use Mr. Wright's name when making my request. My name? Never in a million years would I have thought it was you who asked me. I could bother you. Could I bother you to bring me the SL9 incident files? I need them by noon. Talk about crazy. The SL9 incident? Well, Lana, that's... I thought Mr. Wright might need them, so I had them brought here. Here, you might do well to read them. I can't believe you. The chief prosecutor were a witness in that case? This guy was a witness? Filings for the J. Dark killing solved 2 years ago. Take it from me, you don't want anything to do with serial murders. Oh, what, now that I brought you your stuff, you're going to ignore me? Emma, but why? Why is your name in here? What? My name's in there. I don't know. Unless... No, it couldn't be. Lana. This SL9 incident is that? That's the classification number the police filed it under. 2 years ago, the rest of the world knew it as the Joe Dark killings. The Joe Dark. No, Lana. That's over with. No. Emma, wait. She ran away. You know what? I remembered. I gotta be somewhere. Sorry, pal, but I'm out of here. Jake Marshall, Angel Starr, Damon Gant, Miles Edgeworth. Not to mention Lana and Emma. Everyone involved in this case is connected to those killings 2 years ago. It can't be just a coincidence. Knowing you just might be able to figure it out. Time to get back to the trial, Mr. Wright. Best of luck. You better take a good look at this file. Let's do that now. Close, perpetrator Joe Dark, crime, serial killer, sentenced death. Victims: Edward Jones, Jason Knight, Edith Kirby, Rachel Moss, Jeb Bates, Neil Marshall. Head prosecutor: Miles Edgeworth. Witnesses: Lana Sky, Emma Sky. Investigation task force, executive investigators. Wait, how can Lana be an investigator and a witness? Unless there's something weird. Unless, like, Detective Gumshoe stating stuff counts as being a witness, like, in these cases. Right. Executive investigators: Damon Gant, Lana Sky, head investigator Bruce Goodman, investigators Jake Marshall and Angel Starr. Interesting. To be continued. That was crazy. So I guess the second part of this trial that we're about to go in is going to be us questioning Jake Marshall. Which is a good thing. Because I'm still just so... I feel like there's just so much information that I don't have access to currently, so I can't make like a really good guess on where this case is currently going. But we will try and get more information next time. So I will see you guys later, and we'll hear more from this case, I suppose. See you guys later. Bye!